Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're going to do. This is gonna sound a little different when I explain this. So there is a series called Royally Unexpected. Okay, and each one of the trilogies, yes, each each kingdom has a trilogy. So it's like a total of like 9 books. So when I originally picked this book, I thought I was like, oh, we'll just, I can just do the trilogy of the book, thinking it was going to be about this one relationship, but it's not. It's about multiple relationships. So the one that we're going to do, I'm going to kick it off to see again if this is it can be read as a standalone, see if it's something you like, and then if you want to read the other ones, you can. So we're going to do the first trilogy, which is about the Farcliff Kingdom. Again, it's all under Royally Unexpected, the series. It's by an author named Lilian Monroe. And so we are going to dive into the first book, Bad Prince. We meet Elle, and she is currently in her bed. It's after midnight, and her roommate Dahlia is getting banged. So they have really thin walls. So this is like a cheap house. It's a rental, and Dahlia and this dude have been going at it, and she's like she needs some sleep. She's got to get up early because she's on the crew team, and we find out that she's on scholarship, and so the priority has to be not only just school but her crew team. So if they've got an early morning practice, she's got to be there with freaking bells on. So she finally bangs on the wall and just yells, "Come on, idiot. Just make her come already." So they stop, and she can kind of hear them laughing, and they wind up finishing it out on the floor, which it's not as much sound. The bed was like super squeaky. So next morning she gets up. She's getting ready for her practice, which of course super early in the morning. And when it comes to being on the crew team, she is like much taller than everyone else. Okay, she's got shorter brown hair. She's got shortish brown hair, and she claims that she is always friend zone. That's her. That's what she says. You know how sometimes people are unaware that they're nice looking, like they equate nice looking to a certain thing, and if they're not that, then it's like they're not like nice looking. I have a feeling that's what she's doing to herself. But anyway, I digress. So we find out when she was younger, she didn't have boobs. No one paid attention to her. Then she got boobs, and then that's all everyone saw. She is from a place called Grimdale, which is about 30 minutes outside of Farcliff, and she also was born into foster care, we find out. So while she's getting ready in the locker room, 2 girls come in, Olivia, who's the daughter of a prime minister, and Marielle. They're both snobs. Now, I'm not saying that because they're rich. I'm saying that because they really do act like snobs. So they're talking about Prince Charlie, who is going to be throwing this huge 25th birthday. It's a ball, and this is the one where he's supposed to choose a wife. So clearly, you see, we're definitely setting up the whole Cinderella esque scenario. I just wonder how this is going to play out. Okay. Just because it's got to be with a twist. So I'm wondering what that twist is going to be in this scenario. This should be neat. So she is asking the girl Olivia, ask our girl Elle if she got an invitation. And she's like, no, I didn't get an invitation. And why would I want to go? And the Olivia girls she goes, yeah, I know what you mean. Someone like you wouldn't be invited. And then she says something about how, you don't know anything when it comes to class because you're from Grimdale. So again, snobs, 2 bitches. Great way to describe them. So she, you know, goes. She's got this look on her face because that clearly upset her. Okay. Her coach, Bernard, sees it, asks if she's okay, and she's like, she's fine. She just wants to get in the water. It's a good thing that this is an individual sport for her. She does it by herself. Because otherwise, if the other girls were in there, she probably would have capsized. I'm just saying. But anyway, when she gets in the water, this is her element. She's a rowing machine. Nowhere else feels like this feels. And so this is where she belongs. The way she describes herself in plain, she's a rower. We then switch to Charlie's POV. He is in the middle of banging a woman and he's like smacking on her ass and she's just yelling, oh Prince, right? So he comes, takes the condom off, takes it to a locked trash can. Yes, I said that right. A locked trash can. Puts in the code and throws away the condom. And it may seem like he's a bit overdoing it, but he claims that apparently he had an issue in the past that caused almost a huge ruckus, and so he has to be a lot more careful. Besides, his father does not want any illegitimate children. Okay? So after he's done, he tells the girl, like, he doesn't even know her name, by the way. He's like, you can go. So it's some chick he picked up at the club last night. That's all he knows. Okay? So his butler, Neville, he calls him Nev. He basically has him come in to escort the girl out. She gets dressed, and Neville turns around. He doesn't watch, and afterwards takes her out. So he's about to go running, but he gets stopped by this dude named Talon. Now Talon, of course, is his father's like right hand man, and our boy's father is the king since he's the prince. So he goes in to speak with his dad, and his dad is like, first of all, the dad calls him Charles, his birth name. He likes to go by Charlie. Um, the name of this chapter was Charlie, so you're probably going to hear me go back and forth between Charlie and Charles. It's the same person. So the dad wants to make sure that he's going to be there for this event, for this ball. And he tells his dad he's already set, he's got the jet set to go to Mauritius. And the dad is pissed and he can see it. He's like, you have responsibilities, you know, you have to get married. Like, you've got to get married within the next 3 months. That's the law. And he tells his dad he's not getting married, I'm not doing it. And his father's like, but you have responsibilities. You have to. And then his father also tells him he has to stop boxing. He's like, you can't be punching your subjects, you know? And he's just like, whatever, fine. And clearly we can see they don't have the best relationship. He says that his dad blames him for his mother's death. We don't know what happened. That should be pretty wild when we find out if the dad actually blames him for it. That should be kind of crazy. He finally gets out of there. He goes running by the water. There's like this private way that, it comes from the castle. And he sees a woman rowing. It's almost poetic the way that she rows. And they kind of start racing each other. Now he knows he can't win, but he finds this very exhilarating. Okay? He of course loses. He throws up his arms in surrender. He does see a smirk, even though it's at a distance. He does see a smirk on the woman's face. And to him, that's the most fun he's had in a really long time. Keep in mind, he was just banging a woman, but like that. Wow. So we switch back to Elle, and we find out that was fun for her as well, even though she overexerted herself. Um, it was fun, and she is getting ready for the regatta that's coming up in about 2 months, and so that's what she's got to be preparing for. So they're trying to bring back the trophy to Farcliff because I guess it's been a few years since they've had that trophy, and she's their best shot at getting it back. So her coach is like fussing that, you know, she overdid it, she didn't need to do X, Y, and Z, because of course this is a practice, so he's watching her. Um, she doesn't hear him. Like, he's fussing, and she's just kind of blocking him out. And she leaves, and she goes to change her clothes. The Olivia and Marielle heifers, they come, and they have taken her shoes, and they went and threw them in the water. So again, just bitches, just bitches. So she dives to go get them, and she goes home, and she winds up fixing Dahlia's bed. She's like, because I'm not going through another night with a squeaky bed. That's just not going to happen with you. So then they have this little conversation about relationships, finding someone, that whole thing. And she asks Dahlia, if she believes if there's really like that one special person for everyone. And Dahlia says, for some people, I think they get lucky enough to have it. So Elle grew up in foster care, as I mentioned earlier. She didn't get into a good family until she was 14. Apparently, it was pretty bad, her experience prior to them, but she doesn't want to go into detail. She doesn't like those memories. Don't know if she'll ever elaborate on that. So then we find out when she moved in with the Valencias, that's when everything changed for her. She got this loving family, and that's also when she found rowing. So it changed her life on so many levels. So then she sees this invitation on the table for Dahlia, and she goes, "Is that for the prince's ball?" And she's like, "Yeah." And Elle is like, "How did you get an invitation?" And Dahlia goes, "In the mail." And she's like, "No, silly. How were you invited?" So Dahlia had never told her last name. Her last name is Raventhal. And apparently the Raventhals, it was a whole scandal, honey. They were thrown out of the Farcliff kingdom when the king's wife died. Again, we still don't know what happened with that. So she's got like this look on her face like, what? Like, all they've been living together, she had no clue that's who Dahlia was. And so Dahlia tells her, I'm not going, but you should go. I said, Dahlia, you're not slick. You didn't want to answer no questions, and you got out of there quick. But Dahlia tells her, you need a night out. She's like, all you do is go to work, you train, and I hear you in the shower crying. So I know that what people say to you, it affects you. And you need to be able to go out and have a fun evening. So she comes up with an idea for her to go. And she, of course, is giving pushback saying, no, that's not going to work. Not doing it. But Dahlia, she's pretty determined. So we switch back to Charlie. He decides to go to Grimdale. And he heads straight for the boxing gym. And he wants to spar with someone, right? Wants to get out this aggression. This is what he does. He can't box. The owner of the place, Bo, who's been like a father figure to him, especially since his mom died. The guy says Charlie, like, which he doesn't let too many people call him Charlie, too, by the way, because that's what his mom used to call him. So Bo apparently received a decree from the king basically saying that if the prince fights there in any capacity, they're going to be shut down. And so Bo was like, I can't let that happen because there's a lot of guys, a lot of troubled kids that come in here and this helps them. And Charlie understands, right? So he leaves, but he is pissed off. We also find out that, so you have Grimdale, it's like, how would we describe it? Maybe like two cities, basically. You've got Grimdale, which is like, you know, regular folks and poor folks, right? And then you have Farcliff, which is the upper middle class people. But it's all supposed to be Farcliff Kingdom, but it's like it got split into these two. So his mom, she was like a really loving person. She loved everyone. And his father clearly not that way, never was. And so once the mom died, it's like everything with him was just really combative. He had this scandal with the governess when he was like 15, and his father felt like, he messed up. He was the problem. He was trying to taint the family name. Like, so they've just always been at odds. Again, I don't even think prior to the mom dying that they were that close. So it just enhanced once that buffer wasn't there. So he marches back to the castle. He's got two younger brothers. There's Damon, and then the baby, the youngest, is Gabriel. So Damon's going to medical school. Gabriel, I don't know what he's doing. He's a little wild child. But he wants to beat the crap out of the dad. But the problem is, if he does that, then he's going to get banned from the kingdom, which in turn means the responsibility is going to fall to Damon to become the heir apparent, right? And neither one of them, Damon or Gabriel, they don't want to do that. They can't handle it. They don't like that type of pressure. They have not been groomed to deal with this type of shit, right? So he knows he's just got to suck this up. And his brother Damon, of course, is like, please, like, whatever you're thinking, just rethink it. And so he's eventually is able to calm down. So he goes in and he meets with the dad. And his dad, basically told him, I told you, like, you've got responsibilities. I told you I didn't want you fighting anymore. What did you think I was going to do? And he's like, you have things you've got to start taking more seriously. And so he leaves from his dad. We do find out from a flashback that he has is that his mom had a mysterious death. There were never any answers given exactly what happened to her. Hopefully we get some type of resolution with that. But anyway, ever since the relationship is just pure shit. Again, wasn't that great before, but once the buffer was gone, which was his mom, it just went to shit. So he decides he's gonna go to the pet shelter, which is run by a guy named Francis, and he goes and helps out there a lot. And he basically needs something to do with all of this energy since he now can't go box. So this is something that his mother did, and he wants to uphold that. It's kind of that whole thing of making you feel closer to the person, kind of taking up their mantle. That's what he likes to do. So he likes, charity and helping out and things like that. He's wondering what his father's up to because he's got to choose a wife before his father can introduce him as heir to the throne. But the dad likes power. So I'm like, why is he pushing for him to get married? It's like, there's got to be something else at play here. So we switch back to Elle's POV. And for the past week or so, maybe a couple weeks, she's been racing with the guy along the shore. She, of course, always wins, but it's still always a thrill. So she goes home one day, or maybe it was just maybe it was a few days. It might have been just a few days. But anyway, she goes home, and her other friend, Justine, is there. And so Dahlia was like, well, we figured we'd do like a test run for the ball. Remember, she still hasn't agreed to go, but Dahlia is determined to convince her to go to this shindig. So she has her try on a bunch of dresses. Justine does something with her hair that makes it look really cute. So like 10 months ago, she had done this pixie cut, which she says makes her look like a man. But Dahlia and everyone, well, we'll just say Dahlia, Justine, because we know the other bitches don't like her. They were like, it's gorgeous. But when her friend does something to her hair, because as of right now, it's only grown to about to her ears, so it hasn't grown out that much. And when her friend does does this thing to her hair, she looks at herself and it really does look really nice. And her friends are telling her, like, you have great, cheekbones, bone structure, like great lips. You have Angelina Jolie's lips. Like, you are gorgeous. And for some reason, when her friend says it, she believes it this time, but normally it's really difficult for her to believe that, right? And I think it's because all she hears from those rich snobs is, you're from foster care, you're nothing, you're not attractive. Like, they just make her feel horrible about herself. So if you keep hearing something, that shit will start to seep into you. And I think that's kind of what's happened to Elle. I feel bad for her because she does seem like a really sweet person, but it seems like clearly she's an amazing rower. That has to be the jealousy part, right? With the women on the rowing team. And she's probably gorgeous, and they don't want her to believe she's gorgeous. It's like, you're from Grimdale, so you're nobody. They're from, the one Olivia girl, her dad's a prime minister, like, she's somebody. So it's all that thing of making people feel less than. It's awful. But anyway, she still says she's not going. Okay? So then we get to the night of the ball. Well, the day of the ball, let's say it right. And the coach is going to give everyone the evening off except for her. So normally their curfew is 10 p.m. He's going to extend it to 12. Again, keeping with our Cinderella, you know what I mean, thing. Okay. But she is like, wait a minute. What do you mean except for me? And he was just like, well, you said it was stupid. I didn't think you were going to the ball. So she says, well, listen, I made plans because you were giving off the night, for practice. You were giving us the time off. So I made plans. And he was like, oh, okay. But I didn't like that he even singled her out like that. You know what I mean? It could have been, even if you thought she wasn't going, maybe afterwards you could have pulled her aside and asked her when everyone left. You know what I'm saying? Or asked her at some other point, because this is at the end of, what they had going on, because I think they have morning and evening practices. So you could have did that another way, because that was kind of like mean to single her out. And I guarantee you, he hears the nasty shit that those women are saying to her. So it's like, that was just kind of shitty. I didn't like that. But anyway, he says he's giving them off. He's gonna have eyes and ears at the ball, so they better not be getting drunk. They better not be late. When they go back to the locker room, those nasty bitches have taken their dirty clothes and put them in her gym bag. Just being fucking nasty. It just gets to me. So they also made a comment to her. What was it that they said? It was something like, basically, of course you wouldn't be going to the ball. Maybe someday you'll find someone who would settle for you. Just nasty shit, right? So when she leaves from there, she gets back to the house. It is on. She's decided, fuck that. I'm going to this ball, and I'm happy. So Justine and Dahlia are there, and they're gonna get her ready. So we switch back to Charlie. He's getting ready for the ball, but of course he doesn't really want to go. He's not putting on a tuxedo. He's put on a black suit, no tie. Like, he's just, you see his chest of tattoos, the top of it. This is the most they're going to get out of him. So he's looking down and he's thinking, like, what the hell? Like, if I got to be here, I might as well find something to play with. So at first he's thinking one chick, and then he's like, no, maybe I'll do quite a few. But then he looks down and he sees someone pull up in an orange Jeep. And this woman gets out. And she's got short hair, which we find out he loves. She's got a body that he likes. He's like, oh, this is who I want for tonight. So he watches her. She appears nervous. He's trying to think of a way to get to her because he knows once he gets out there, all eyes are going to be on him, right? Because this is about him. This ball is about him. So he's watching her, and the way she looks, he's like, she could probably take all of me. Like, it seems like he maybe holds back in the bedroom with other people, but she appears to be able to, she'll be able to take everything that I can throw at her. And I'll probably even want to have her back again the next day. So then he sees her go towards the food table, which all the women are staying away from. But the fact that she's going towards it and she's eating guacamole, she's got her plate filled, he's loving this. This is so different from everyone else. And we find out he likes the short hair because he's not a fan of extensions. Like, I guess the whole willowy long hair is in, but he just doesn't like it. So he figures, okay, I'm gonna get to this Amazonian woman because he can tell she's tall. He likes that as well. Not as tall as him, but everything about her he is really loving right now. So then he goes to the kitchen, which is close by the table where she is. And when she looks up, they lock eyes. And when she licks her lips, his dick gets hard. And so he's taken by his dad to the center of the event. And some guy comes up to who he calls her now the Amazonian goddess. And he's ready to fight, right? Because he's already laid claim in his head on her. He sees the guy like put his arm around her waist, and she doesn't appear to like it. She moves away, and then she disappears because he of course is getting pulled in all these different directions. And so he goes and he tries to find her, and he even waited outside of a bathroom for like 15 minutes, and he still could not find her. But he's like, I have got to find this woman. So then we switch back to Elle, and she was very much affected by the stare from him as well. It made her wet. And this event is being held outside, but too much is going on. It was a very intense moment. She feels like she needs air. So she winds up going in the same door that he had left out of. And she's finally able to breathe, and she winds up going up like 3 flights of stairs, and well, it's a freaking castle. So she gets lost. So she winds up going in a gym, which looks so much better than the gym she sees at her school. Plus, it doesn't smell all sweaty and stuff. So she goes in, and there's one of those punching bags, and so she starts punching at it, kind of getting all of her frustrations out, right? And she hears seems like, what did that bag ever do to you? Is what she hears. And she turns around. Sure enough, it's the damn crown prince. So he asked her, did she box? And she didn't answer. And he's like, okay, I know you're not mute because you screamed when I first came in. So I'm going to ask you again, do you box? He comes over to her. He's like, let me fix your stance. So, of course, he tells her how to stand. Their bodies are touching. Then he starts rubbing on her, starts flicking nipples and stuff through the dress. She is so turned on. And he says, tell me your name. She's like, no. He's like, your crown prince is ordering you to tell me your name. And he had even reached down to her mound, and that's how they quoted it in the books. That's how I said it. And she still tells him no. And she says, nobody can know that I was here. So after that, he turns around, grabs the sides of her face, puts a thumb on her bottom lip. Um, she licks it, and that's it. He starts kissing her. Clothes are ripped off. He tells her, hold on to the bar. He picks her up, which no man has been able to do. Um, and just plows into her, and they fuck till they both come, and then they crash on the floor. So they both, of course, are like, that was incredible. The bell tower strikes 12, and she asked him what time it was, and he's like, it's midnight. She says, shit, I'm not supposed to be here. He says, wait, wait, wait. He's like, don't leave. And she's like, I gotta go. He asked her if she was on the pill. because he could kind of tell just from how she was, this was clearly not something that she just does all the time. She doesn't answer. She's like getting her stuff. And he's thinking, of course, that okay, even if she's not on the pill, maybe she can get the morning after pill. And she's like, I gotta go. Besides, she makes a comment, what would make you think I would want a kid? That's the last thing I need right now. She bolts out of there. He never gets her name. But he's thinking, like, what grown woman has a curfew? So then Talon comes in, catches him butt naked, and he's like, your father wants to see you. So he leaves and goes to his dad, puts on a little clothing, and he hears, before he walks into the dad, he hears Talon and the dad talking. And he's like, something is up. Something is really up. Because as they're talking, Talon is like, well, it really won't matter if he has any illegitimate kids now. And this pisses him off because he's like, wait a minute, they're still hovering over that one mistake he made when he was 15. So apparently somebody tried to get pregnant from him, and I mean, he was 15. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like the dad is still holding that against him. So they're talking about Farcliff and this dam project that they're trying to get through cabinet. And he's just like, no one wants that damn thing. His mom fought against that, right? So this fictional place is located between the US and Canada. So this is their own little kingdom. But anyway, the project would basically wipe out Grimdale. It would flood it out. And the mom, again, she fought against this. And the father and Talon, I'm going to go ahead and make my assumption. I think they took that woman out. That's my theory. I could be wrong, but that is my theory. Because it's just too sneaky. It's just too much. It's like, so this isn't the first time you've tried to get this shit passed. But it's almost like you waited a long time so it didn't appear. Because you got to think, logically, if they really did take out the mother and it was about this damn project, if they went after it right after she died, that's suspicious. But it's like they waited 15 years to do it, so it won't appear too suspicious. But I don't know. I don't trust it. Okay, so basically the dad want to know if he found someone. That's about it. And he left. When he goes back to his room, she left her shoes. So he took her shoes and he put them in her drawer. So again, we're still staying with the whole Cinderella bit. But he, of course, is like, he's got to find out who it is. So he had already put Nev on the job. And Nev is like, her name is Dahlia Raventhal. And he's like, Raventhal? He's like, they got banished from the kingdom, you know? We don't know why. This should be fun to find out. So, our girl Elle comes home. Dress is ripped. No shoes on. Feet are messed up. She's been running barefoot. Dahlia thinks someone attacked her. She's like, oh my God, what happened? She's like, no, nothing happened. And then Dahlia realizes, oh, you had sex. She's like, yeah. So she doesn't admit to having sex with the prince because she's like, no one can ever know that. Then Dahlia asks her, like, well, did you use protection? And she's like, we didn't. And I know that that's bad, but, like, it's just a one-time thing. I can't get pregnant. And we find out that she's not on the pill anymore, birth control, because it was giving her really bad headaches and she couldn't perform well, when she rode. So it was just like she got off of them, and it's not like she was, having sex like that anyway. So she just stopped. Well, now she done fucked, and Dahlia's like, well, we can get the morning after pill. And she's like, no, I can't do that because they'll find out the records. They'll find out the medical records. And I'm like, they should be able to go to some type of little pharmacy somewhere and get that shit. Because Dahlia was like, well, I'll get it for you, But she's like, no, she's seen the side effects on some of the girls that take them, and she can't afford that right now. But I'm like, well, if you get pregnant, that's, even Dahlia's like, if you get pregnant, that's going to be a lot more worse. So as far as going to be an issue with what your plans are, okay? So it's just kind of like, why would you take that chance? But she feels like it's worth a chance. She doesn't think she's going to get pregnant. Um, she did ask her, Dahlia asked if she at least saw the prince, and she said, yeah, I saw him. That was kind of it. But Dahlia kind of left it alone after that. But I'm like, oh my gosh. We switch back to Charlie, and he, of course, the next morning he's pissed off because he's like, he's fucked up. So we get a little history. The Raventhals, they were kicked out of the kingdom because when his mom died, Dahlia's mother, her name is Tabitha Raventhal. She was best friends with the queen. And so when the queen died, and it was so suspicious, she's like, there needs to be an inquiry into her death. And she was also trying to take Charlie from the dad. She was trying to get him out of there. So I'm this is pushing my theory of the dad had something to do with the mom's death. I'm really leaning more into that theory. Because of all of this, it was a really tumultuous time for him. And so everyone hates the Raventhals because of this. And then when he was, what was it? When was that? It's been like 15 years because his mom died when he was 11. And sending the invitation to the Raventhals was like an olive branch or whatever. I just don't see why would you get mad at someone who's trying to find out what the hell happened to your mom. That's clearly someone that is your mom's true best friend because she wanted answers. So it's like, why would you be pissed at that? But I guess if you're being fed from your father, these are awful people, they're doing this to cause a ruckus, I guess that would be why, because you're, more susceptible at that age. But I'm like, shit, that sounds like a friend to me. Want to know what the hell happened. We get a little bit more backdrop to him as well. So when he was 15, his governess, her name was Charlotte Thorne, I think. She was his girlfriend, and apparently she tried to get pregnant from him, and this was a whole incident. But I'm like, wait a minute. Your girlfriend, your governess, this is some bull. If she was a governess, she had to be a grown woman. So how the hell is the dad pissed at him? That's wild. But anyway, that's when the whole locked trash can thing started because of what happened with that shit. So anyway, he jumps on his motorcycle and he's headed to the address that he got from Nev. And the whole time he's thinking how great the sex was. At first it was like, I'm going to confront her, let her know I know who she is, never see her again. Then it changes to, when I see her, I'm going to fuck her one more time. And then I'm going to tell her it's over. Then it's like, maybe I'll do it a few more times. It's like, he's wavering. So anyway, he goes up to the house, and who answers the door after he's bammed on it is a woman with colored hair. And he goes, Dahlia Raventhal? And she says, that's me. And he goes, oh shit, that wasn't Dahlia Raventhal who I slept with. Because this is clearly Dahlia Raventhal. Because she bowed as soon as she saw him, and it was very natural. And he remembered the previous night, the woman he was with, she didn't bow when she saw him. So he knows now wasn't Dahlia Raventhal. So Elle was walking up, and when she saw this, she hid behind the neighbor's tree. Dropped her muffin and shit. Coffee splashes, burns her little hand. And she stays there and jumps down, actually, so he's not able to see her. So when he finally leaves, she goes, and Dahlia's like, uh-huh. only saw him at a distance. And she's like, okay, yes, it was the prince that I was with last night. And Dahlia's like, well, you made an impression for him to come all of this way, to bring back your shoes. And she, of course, is in disbelief. It's like, no, he's probably just, she's trying to make up some excuse as to why he would be here. Because, again, she had never anticipated on seeing him again. And she's like, he can never find out who I am. Like, she has these adoptive parents. Like, no, like, none of her, who she is royal, you know? So she's going to go to her adoptive parents, the Valencias, this weekend. And she realizes, that when she got to the Valencias, she had been internalizing all of that awful stuff about belonging and loving people. She hadn't been able to do that. And so she found this wonderful home, and it's like, how do I say it? Her sister, it's like her self-esteem was already in the toilet, and even though she got that positive feedback from them, it's been in the toilet for so long. It's kind of hard to bring it up. Just saying. Like, even though they were loving to her, it's still, that didn't penetrate because she's heard too much bad stuff. So I do feel bad for her. But she's going to go to the Valencias for lunch because she hasn't been there in like a month. So she's going to go see them. And we'll see. Now, Dahlia says she told him that she lived by herself. So that way he wouldn't think it was, that someone else lived there. So our boy Charlie was not buying what Dahlia was trying to dish to him, okay? He believes Dahlia does not live alone. So he goes around the corner. He starts thinking about the conversation the night before, how she said curfew and things like that. He rides out, to the university, and then he comes back. And he's like, he's going to wait until he sees someone because he knows she doesn't stay by herself. So he's waiting for an hour. He's getting impatient. During this time, he snaps a photo of the shoes and tells Nev, hey, put up an ad about these shoes so we can try and find out who they belong to, seeing if he can, coax her out that way, right? So sure enough, just when he's about to like leave, give up and leave, she comes walking out. And he sees Dahlia throw the keys to this woman. She gets in the orange Jeep, and he remembers she was dropped off in an orange Jeep as well. So he first of all, he sees her. He knows this is her. Hell, he fucked her. He knows. So he runs and gets back on his bike because he had like put his bike, like parked his bike like around the corner while he waited. So he ran to his bike and he follows her. And he's noticing they're going to they're going to Grimsdale. Grimdale. Is it Grimdale? I don't know. It'll come back to me later. So he gets there and he's kind of wondering too why they're staying where they are, because when the Raventhals left, they still had money and they still do well for themselves in the US. So he doesn't understand why she's staying in that type of a rental. Like, that seems weird. But anyway, he follows and he sees her go in, and then he goes and rings the doorbell, and Francis Valencia opens the door. So Francis is the guy that runs the shelter. So he says to Francis, what are you doing here? And Francis says, I live here. And he goes, you live here? And he's like, yeah. So then he yells out to Tina, Francis, he's like, well, they call him Frank. He yells out and he says, hey, Tina, set another table for the prince. And then he hears dishes fall and crash. So then we switch back to Elle, and she is stuck there, and Tina's like, "Oh my gosh, don't move! I'm gonna clean it up." And Tina, again, that's her adoptive mother. Sometimes she says mom and dad, and sometimes she says Tina and Frank. It just kind of depends. So Frank comes up with the prince, and Frank's like, "You're not normally clumsy. You're really not, Elle." And the prince says her name, Elle, and she does like hearing it. It does something to her, makes her wet. She goes to the bathroom, and her father, Frank, comes and knocks on the door. He's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm fine. I'll be out in a minute." She comes out, and they sit, they have dinner, and she finds out how they know each other. It's from the shelter. And then it's revealed, that she's on the rowing team. She goes to Farcliff University, gearing up for the regatta in about 7 weeks. And he nudges her knee under the table, sparks are flying, but he seems to eat as normal. But she's sitting there kind of freaking out. So she had already tried to convince herself she was never going to see him, right? And then here he is popping up. It's like, this cannot be real. So when she calls them Tina and Frank, he does make the comment like, "Why do you call your parents by their first names?" And she reveals that she was adopted when she was 14, and Frank and Tina are like, and it was the best day of our lives when she turned 17 and she said mom for the first time. And Elle says, for me, trust just doesn't come easily. That's why it took so long for me to say it. So they have lunch. Then afterwards, she says she's got to go. They're having a team meeting since, they were able to leave. They had the previous practice off, the evening practice off. So she's got to get back, get refocused. And then he, of course, is like, he's got to run too. And her mom tells her, "All right, don't let it go another month without me seeing you. Start coming back on Sundays like you used to." And so her and Charlie head out, and they get outside, and she's like, "How did you follow me here?" And he goes, "Yep." She didn't expect him to be so truthful about it. And when she had hugged her parents and stuff, he's like, "What, no goodbye for me?" Cute little scene to read. It really was fun to read. They're back and forth. And he lets her know he wants to see her tonight. And she's like, "I can't. I have practice." He says after. So he wanted to pick her up at Farcliff University, and she's like, "No, that's going to cost too much attention. You're a distraction, not something I need." And he's like, "Okay, well then I'll pick you up at your place." And she finally gives in, and she's like, "Okay, it's a date." And he tells her he's going to take her on his motorcycle. So I'm like, okay, this should be fun. So then he gets back to the castle, and the Talon guy is like, "The king wants to speak with you." He's like, "No." Talon grabs his arm, and he's like looking at him like, "Are you serious? You don't touch me." And the dude backs up and gives this look of like, "Oh, like my bad," right? But it's like, I think because he's got the king's ear, he's got too much power, right? So he feels like he can do whatever. I think he forgets his place a little bit. Charlie tells Talon, "No, you tell him if he wants to see me, he can come to my chambers." And he walks off. So the king comes down. He's pissed off. They get into an argument because Charlie's like, "I'm going to pick my own wife." And the king's like, "You got 3 months to do it. And I've got a list of acceptable people." And he tells Charles, like, "This is the law, okay? You've got to do it. You don't do it, you're not going to be named my heir." And he's like, "I don't want to stick to laws." He's like, if I didn't have to stick to the law, I would name you as my heir." And he made some comment too about the mother, saying that when Charlie was like, "You don't have a wife and you're doing fine," and he goes, "And whose fault is that?" So he clearly knows now. Yes, he clearly blames him for the death, but I'm like, but why? Why would you? So apparently they went up to a cabin and she got bitten by a tick, and I guess they're trying to say that's what killed her. Again, we got to see what happens. See if they let us know what really went down with her. So, but what I don't think the father ever liked him, and that was just an excuse to use. Just saying. That's what I think. Well, anyway, little does he know, he's chosen someone. He doesn't tell his dad this, but he's already chosen. He wants to be with Elle. You know, that's it. So in his mind, he's picked his queen. He just hasn't told his pappy yet. So we switch back to Elle. She's in the locker room listening to Olivia lie through her teeth, saying that the reason they didn't see the prince was because she was fucking him. And that he is really big, just like the rumors say. All this bullshit. And she just lets her talk, but then she starts wondering, what if it happened after I left, right? Like, that's a possibility. And of course, this makes her feel some type of way because there are self esteem issues. So it makes her feel some type of way. She's not focusing on the fact that you didn't see him at all talk to her. Yes, you left. But this man followed you to your parents' house to try and spend time with you. Like, think a little bit more. But again, it's hard for her to believe anything positive. She gets back home. Dahlia helps her get ready. Dahlia wants her to wear this black sexy dress. She's like, I'm going to be on a motorcycle. So she's like, no, jeans will work. And it's a good thing she did because you're going to be on a fucking motorcycle. So anyway, they leave. He takes her to a property. Well, it's by the lake. It's a cabin that's on the royal property, the royal grounds. And he calls this place his home away from home. So this is one of the places where his mom would bring him on the weekends. And he asked her if she wanted anything to drink. And she says, just water. It's training season, you know. So no partying, you know, no alcohol, no men. And he says, well, you're breaking one rule right now. And she says, you're a prince. That's different. So they're talking and they get along really well. But in her head, she's thinking this can't go past this, you know? And she realizes it's like, okay, I need to call this. I need to cut this now. And they're talking, and it's like when she thinks she's going to end it, the conversation, you know, keeps getting good and she doesn't want to leave. And so it's difficult to just cut it loose the way she thought she was going to be able to do it. But eventually she works up the nerve to say, listen, this isn't going to go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. You're a royal, for God's sake. Like, it can't go past this. Let's just cut this loss now. And so she's getting ready to leave, and he, you know, because they had been on the couch and they were kissing, and she was like, no, can't do this. I need to leave. He begs her to stay. And he tells her, you're the first person to ever treat me like a real person. And I think he really likes her, and he really likes that feeling of feeling normal. And he says, you know, am I a little fucked up? Yes, some things happened to me when I was 15, and I haven't gotten over those. I know I have a reputation, because she told him about the stuff she reads in the tabloids and stuff like that. And she's like, you know, you'll get bored of me. And he's like, nah, I won't get bored of you. So he tells her that he made guacamole after watching her eat it, and he doesn't want to eat it by himself. And he's like, please stay. And so she says, well, if you got guacamole, that changes everything. They eat guacamole, and he made the guacamole, but he had, like, you know, his people do the other stuff on the spread. And They have real conversation. And so she just asks him flat out, so why are you a male whore, basically? And at first he wasn't going to talk about it, but then he eventually tells her the story. And so basically he tells her what happened with the governess, Charlotte, and how he fell in love with her. She was in her 30s, he was 15. And he says one day he found her poking holes in the condoms. And he got pissed off at her, dumped her. She went crazy, smashing stuff. And she got a bottle, broke it, tried to strike him with it. Yeah, she went full crazy. And she's like, Elle goes, she was a pedophile. Like, you were only 15. This 30-year-old woman shouldn't have been fucking with you. How could your father make you seem like you were responsible? There's no way you were responsible. And he was like, no, I participated. It was my fault. I should have been more careful. She's like, no, you were a kid. She was the adult. She took advantage of you. I'm quite sure she knew you had a little crush on her and she played into it. Oh my gosh. So that was the first time he'd ever heard that. All these years he's been told it was him. He was the problem. He did that. So that was the first time he realized he was a victim in that case. And that's awful even more so because I was thinking, like, I was wondering how old she was. I knew if she's a governess, she's got to be an adult. But then, if my fellow readers, Jane Eyre, if you've seen the movie or if you read the books, either or, because I've done both. Um, she was like what, 18, and she was a governess, so she was an adult. So I didn't know if okay, is she 18 and this is that like what? But she was 30. That is insane. And his daddy ain't shit for making him feel bad about it and saying that it was his fault. That is awful. So after that confession, they kiss and then he grabs her, throws her over his shoulder, takes her in the bedroom, she snatches his shirt off. And even though all the bells in her head are telling her, you gotta let this go, she feels herself falling deeper and deeper and she's not gonna stop it. So they have their nice hard fuck session. She likes a little choke action, okay? So then afterwards, they're about to fall asleep and she's like, I gotta go, I got a 5 a.m. practice. He's like, damn, that sounds horrible. She's like, maybe I'll see you um, by the lake, because they also came to the realization, I forgot to mention this, that they're racing each other. And he's like, maybe you will. So she gets dressed and she eats a little bit more as they're leaving out. And she's like, you did good. She's like, good snacks and good sex. You did good. So he kisses her really gently and he realizes he wants to break all the rules with her. He really likes her. And she likes him as well. So it's evident she doesn't want anything from him. It's not like, oh, I'm fucking a prince, I no longer have to go to practice, like my life is set. She doesn't treat him that way. Like, no, she still has her life. She still's got her goals that she wants to meet. Like, it's pretty awesome, and her goals don't entail trying to like use him. So we fast forward about 3 weeks. This is the life. She studies, they fuck, she practices. Like, well, let me say it right. She studies, she practices, and they fuck in that order. That's her life. It's been beautiful. Um, she is hanging out with Dahlia this one night because he's got this royal court thing he's got to deal with. So they're gonna have a girls' night. They're watching The Bachelorette. Dahlia says something um about her cycle, and alarm bells go off in Elle's head. So she normally gets her cycle within a day of Dahlia's. Okay, and Dahlia's looking at her like, you don't know. Let's just calm down. And she's freaked. She has a whole freak out. I can't be pregnant. That's not possible. I can't do that. No, it'll ruin everything. Has a mini breakdown. She tells her, listen, you're stressed. You're doing a lot. Your coochie's been taking a pounding, right? Every night because you're with the prince. So it could just be it's off a few days. Because prior to her living with Dahlia, she did have like an irregular cycle. And so she's like, let's just give it a few days. It'll probably come on. Don't freak out. So she's able to calm down enough. They eat some junk food and they have their nice fun watching, TV. But then when she gets in bed and she goes to sleep, right before she goes, she starts thinking about stuff and freaking out again because, you know, the story that he told her with the governor, she doesn't want him to think that this is something she tried to do, you know? Plus, she's got the regatta, and now we're down to 4 weeks. And I'm like, well, you can still do the regatta. I mean, it's 4 weeks away. You've been practicing, you straight. But stakes are higher now. We switch back to the prince's POV. He, of course, enjoying this time with her these past few weeks. And mentally, he's a little thrown off because the next morning, they don't race. Like, she won't even look in his direction. So he messages her and she says, oh, tonight she's not going to be able to do anything. She needs to rest. XXX. He gets pissed because he wanted to see her. And he feels like she's blowing him off. And he hates that. He's like, I'm the fucking crown prince. Like, and she's the one from Grimdale. She's the nobody. I'm the somebody. He's pissed. Doesn't say this to her, but these are the thoughts going through his head. Felt like he wanted to punch something, but can't go to the. He could have went to the gym that's at the castle, but his brother Damon's like, hey, come out with us. Let's go have some fun. So they like to go to the bars in Grimdale because they're seedier and there's less paparazzi. So they go out. He gets drunk, doesn't fuck anybody. This one girl says something to him in his ear he didn't like, and he kicked her out the club. The only person he wants is Elle. So, but he's pissed off, because he wanted to spend time and be with her. Next morning, he wakes up hungover. This feeling he doesn't miss because since he's been with Elle, he hasn't been drinking. She's not drinking. He hasn't either. And he kind of wonders if maybe the drinking he was doing was like placating something. I'm like, yeah, I'm quite sure it was. So anyway, he plugs his phone in because it's dead to get some juice. Goes and takes a shower. He comes out. He's got all these messages, or shall we say alerts, from pictures of him at the bar that have hit the press. So Nev comes in. His butler gives him some ibuprofen and stuff like that. And he's like, what did I say? What did I do last night? And all Nev said was, you just said that you were talking about someone named, I forget Elle's last name, so I'm just gonna say Elle. And you just said how fond you were of her. That's all. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I think he said he was probably in love with her, but Nev isn't gonna say that to him because he's probably not trying to freak him out because he's never heard him say he loves anybody. So he's pissed at himself because he knows these pictures are public, which means Elle is going to see them. Our girl hears about, she sees those pictures. Olivia's in the locker room lying again, saying that, oh, he wanted to go out with her, but she was busy. So he just went out with his brothers, and those girls don't mean anything. Like, all this bullshit. So then when she gets to the house, he is waiting outside with flowers. He's like, I'm so sorry. I know I fucked up. I promise you I didn't fuck any of those women. And she's like, but they were on you and they were touching you. And he's like, I thought about you. You're the only person I was thinking about. He's like, I'm so sorry. So they go inside and she tells him, who are we kidding? We can't have anything, you know? And he's like, that's not true. That's not true. And he asks her to come away with him. And she's like, I can't. I have practices all weekend. I can't miss anything. He says, well, then after the regatta, I want to take you away to the countryside. And she eventually agrees. But it feels like the beginning of the end for them. She knows she needs to let him go. She's just not ready to do it yet. After he leaves, there's this back and forth that he's having on his way to the castle. He's figured out a few things. His father is having him followed because otherwise there wouldn't have been any pictures. So his father clearly had those pictures leaked. He's doing stuff for sure. Um he also knows his father is up to something with this dam project, and he's trying to figure out how he fits into that scheme with his father trying to push him to get married. And so those are the things he knows right now. These are things that are happening. So then when he gets to the castle, Talon dude summons him. Your father wants to see you. And his dad goes, "You're dealing with Dahlia Raventhal? We threw those fucking Raventhals out of the kingdom, you know?" And he sees those damn plans on the desk, and his father like hides them. And his father is so pissed off. And he's thinking, okay, this isn't good because his dad wants him to do things his way a little too much. He could do something awful to L, right? He's thinking it's Dahlia. That's a good thing. He has an opportunity that he could possibly protect L. Because if he doesn't protect L, like, he could banish them. He could banish her from the kingdom and make this really bad for her. Get her kicked out of school. He could do a lot of shit. So he goes, okay, he's got a plan. He goes and talks to Damon. He's like, "Damon, I need your help." So him and Damon go to Dahlia and Elle's place, and she's shocked to see him. And Damon sees Dahlia because she's coming out of the bathroom and she's naked. But Dahlia's one of those people that likes to walk around naked, so she doesn't care. And Damon, of course, loves it. His mouth drops open, and her pubes actually match her hair with these. She's got this colorful hair. So anyway, the plan is they're gonna say that the reason he was coming to Dahlia Raventhal's house is because Damon likes her and was wanting to get to know her. They have a thing going. So Damon and Dahlia are gonna come up with like a little backstory for themselves, and this should work because the king has said he's gonna send an invitation to the Raventhals to come to the castle. And what it was meant to do was bring them there and embarrass her. But since it's not the heir apparent that's gonna, be dealing with the Raventhal, it's gonna be a little different. So they're cool, but this is freaking Elle out because it's like, why would you even need to do this? You know, it made her feel like she's in danger. She's like, "Am I?" You know what I mean? And he's like, "Everything will be fine. I'm gonna protect you." He wants to go public with her and get rid of these age-old traditions because this is who he wants to be with. So Elle is talking with Dahlia after they leave, and again, she's concerned. She's like, "First of all, this keeping me safe thing seems like just too much for me." And Dahlia, of course, is like, "Everything's gonna be fine, blah 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 blah." She speaks of love, and Elle is like, "He doesn't love me." She's like, "Yes, he does. He wouldn't go through all of this if he didn't love you." You know what happened with her family? She just says she'll tell her another day. And that's pretty much all she tells. She won't go into details. So at this point, this is a lot, right? She's waiting for the other shoe to drop. She feels kind of like she's got these training sessions. They haven't been going the best because she's tired all the time. And I'm like, oh, we know where this is going. Her coach is like, "What's going on? These past few, sessions have been trash. What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know. I'm not sleeping well, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "I'm going to give you 3 days off So that way you come back Monday, you're refreshed, you're ready to go. She goes home, she falls asleep. Dahlia comes in. Dahlia says something about her period cramps, and not Ellie, Elle goes, I think it's time to take a test. We then switch to our boy Charlie, and the dinner went good. The father was just again glad the Raventhals were not going to be a part of the royal family. That's it. Um, and he made a comment that was kind of saying like he was glad that his mother was gone, which again makes me believe he took her out. He also made a comment again, Damon would be a better king, and that Olivia Brundle, which is the nasty bitch that's always fucking with our girl Elle, she's the one that the dad is trying to push on to Charlie. And I'm like, that might be why she's also lying a lot, because I'm quite sure the parents are saying, baby, you finna marry the king, honey, the heir apparent. You're about to get him. And I'm wondering if they've been saying that to her, and that's why she's been concocting all these lies, so that when an announcement is made, it doesn't look like she's been pushed with him. It seems like they were actually in a relationship. I could be looking at that too deep, but I kind of feel like that's what she's doing, trying to set the foundation that they have like this real relationship, when it's really, if they get engaged, it's going to be an arrangement. So he takes her up to the cabin. Charlie takes Elle up to the cabin since she's got the 3 days off. And he's happy because he's like, we don't have to rush back, you know? But she doesn't seem as happy as he thought she would be with the idea that they finally get to like really sleep together and wake up together. He offers her wine, she declines. He offers her guacamole, and she doesn't want it. And he's like, what is going on? And she just says she's just really tired. She goes to sleep. He knows something's up with her, but he lets her sleep. He leaves, gets on his bike, and he goes to the gym, Bo's gym. He sneaks in the back and parks miles away. And Bo catches him, and he's like, I just couldn't stay away. So Bo is like, oh, you must have found a good woman. And he's like, what makes you say that? He's like, because you haven't needed probably that release like you normally were doing before. So anyway, Bo takes him into his office and gives him a ring that belonged to his mother. And he says, your mom told me to give this to you when the time was right, when you found the right woman. And she said, give this to him when he finds someone that gets all that aggression out of him. Now this sounds like they were a little bit closer. I don't know if she was a lost love. I don't know. But that's a heck of something that she thought of this guy to say, this is, I want you to give this to my son. Because she clearly did not trust the dad to do it. So that says a lot. Well, we also find out the mom, she was a boxer. She liked to come to the gym and box. I don't think she did anything professionally, but she liked to box. And that she was the one that used to bring him around to this gym. And that, again, she was all about the charity work. She was all about giving to everyone within the kingdom. That was who she was. He tears up hearing this story about her. He loved his mom a lot. And so this was like beautiful memories. And he knows the only person that he wants to wear this ring is Elle. So poor Elle, she's upset because she is pregnant. She's terrified to tell the prince. She doesn't want a scandal. She winds up throwing up, and she decided, she's got to end it with him. After these 3 days, she's going to enjoy her time with him, and then she's going to let him go. She's going to take care of this baby the best she can. She doesn't want another scandal for the prince. It really isn't anything she wants for him. What else did she say? Yeah, so that's her plan. So the next 3 days, they make love, they eat, and they enjoy themselves. They take the motorcycle out, go different places, enjoy themselves. And so when he drives her back to her place, to her home, she can't let him go. She couldn't do it. So when she does tell him the next few weeks, a couple of weeks are going to be really busy for me, and he's like, "Is that your way of saying I'm not going to see you? I'm sorry that you don't want to see me?" And she says, "No, it's not that I don't want to. I just can't." And he's like, "It's okay. I got a lot of stuff to deal with too on my end, so it's okay." And so she goes inside and she just cries to Dahlia. And Dahlia just hugs her, tells her it's going to be okay. Charlie knows something's off. He can't quite figure it out, but he knows something's up. He goes back to the castle. His dad barges into his room. His dad's like, "Time's up. I've chosen someone for you." And he's like, "You can shove it up your ass. I'm not doing it." And the dad says, "You haven't been having a lot of women over here these past couple of months. That's not usual for you." And he tells his dad, "Maybe I'm living a life of celibacy." And he says, "There's no way you're doing that. So who is it? Whoever it is, you're going to have to end it." And he's like, "That's not going to happen." But he doesn't confirm that there is someone or there isn't someone. Then the dad said, the AKA the king, says, "I found the governess." And he says, "And?" And he goes, "I don't think your new woman would want to hear about all of the scandalous things that happened between the two of you." And he says, "I've already told her." And the dad goes, "There it goes. I knew there was someone else." So he was just trying to get the confession out of him that there was a woman that he was serious about. And now I'm a little afraid because now this man could ruin that girl, you know? So he leaves out. I'm still trying to figure out the dad's angle. Like, what is the plan? Why is he pushing for the marriage? I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, we get to the race day. She has been to the doctor to make sure that everything's okay with the kid. And I'm like, okay, so if you can go to the doctor to make sure everything's okay with the kid, you were afraid to go to the doctor because you thought that you said the medical records were going to get back to the coach. So if you're pregnant, it's going to get back to the coach too. See what I'm saying? That's a plot point. I'm a little like, that doesn't make sense to me. That really doesn't. Because I'm like, you could have got the goddamn pill, and if it had a side effect, you felt sick for a day or two, but then it's over with. You know what I mean? But anyway, I digress. So she works her ass off. She wins that fucking race. She screams at the end. It's for all the work she's done to get to this moment. And then she pukes in the water. And she didn't catch her balance and she winds up capsizing into the lake. Charlie runs when he sees her capsize, jumps into the water, and she comes up on the other side. She's like, "I'm okay. And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I thought you were in trouble." And she won't look at him. And the rescue people are coming and she finally says, "I'm pregnant." He's stunned. He doesn't say anything. They get brought back to shore. Talon comes and takes our boy away. Charlie takes him back to the castle. And Olivia Brundle is there. And what's going down? It's the official engagement. And the dad is able to corner him into it because the dad knows about the baby and Elle. And the reason he knows because he shows the document with the confirmation that she's pregnant. So he says, "We're going to make the announcement today." So the Olivia girl is all happy. And he can tell the way she said, like, "Well, why do you know her? Is that why you jumped in the lake?" The look she gives is like she's trying to give nice, but there's nasty there. He sees it. So he can tell this bitch, she doesn't like Elle for sure. So his dad's got him caged in. He's like, he's got him by the balls. There's nothing he can do. I'm like, damn. So our girl is, they have the little ceremony. Normally the king presents the medals, but he's not here. So she gets the medal from Damon, and he of course congratulates her. But she thinks that based on the way that our boy Charlie was just stunned into silence, that he doesn't want the baby, you know? And her parents are there, they congratulate her, but she's heartbroken. She tells her parents, "Can we just do the dinner another night?" And they're like, "Sure, no problem. Are you okay?" She says, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just really tired." Dahlia sees that look on her face and she says, "Tell me what you need." She's like, "I want to go home." She's like, "I got you." She takes her home. Our girl feels as if his response, it shouldn't be he needs to grow to accept it. She felt like if it was something he really wanted, he would have been happy, and he wasn't. And Dahlia's telling her, "Give him time," and she's like, "No, it shouldn't have took time. He should have been happy when I told him." I'm like, "Bitch, you told him in cold ass fucking water." You know, that's a shocking thing to find out, you know? So it's like, give him some goddamn grace. But unfortunately, that's how she feels, and she's heartbroken about it. And then Dahlia turns on the damn TV. Breaking news. And they show Charlie and Olivia announcing the engagement, but he looks miserable. And Olivia, of course, looks happy. She gets sick. She runs to the bathroom, misses the toilet, throws up on the floor, just cries. She's miserable. Daddy's like, "I'll clean this up. You just go wash your mouth and go to bed." She goes and she's, trying to think of how she's going to do this, how she's going to, with the money. And Dahlia had told her, I'll loan you money. The Valencias are here for you. Like, you have people that love you. You have people that are here. We're going to get you through it. Even though she's heartbroken and she feels devastated, her focus is now going to be on that child. Like, that's her bright light. And so that's where the focus goes. We switch back to Charlie's POV, and he wants to throw up. Like, he walks off before Olivia. She's like, "Charlie." He's like, "Don't you call me that." She's like, "Well, what am I supposed to call you? We're engaged." And he says, "Call me your fucking prince." And the dad is like, yep, he's happy because he knows he's got him right where he wants him. And he tells him, "If you back out of this, I'm going to expose the baby to the press. If you try and stop the dam project, which in the next week or so is going before the cabinet, he's going to leak the shit to the press." So he has got him over a barrel. He really does. And so what happens? He leaves and he goes to see our girl. And they talk, but Elle is like, "It's just not gonna work. You just gotta go. You gotta leave." And eventually he does. We switch back to Elle. Dahlia's consoling her because she keeps crying. A few days later, she goes and talks to her parents, Tina and Frank, to let them know about the baby. Frank's pissed because Frank is like, "Who's the father?" Tina's like, "We know who the father is. The person who's been coming around here with her for the past couple of months, Because he was coming over there. She was doing the regular Sunday lunches, and Charlie was coming with her. So she's like, "You know who it is." And Frank's like, "Well, what is he going to do about it?" And she's like, "There's nothing to do. He's getting married. That's that. I'm going to take care of this child. Um, that's that. And I'm going to make it work." And they were like, "We're here for you." Tina takes her upstairs and shows her in the attic. She had baby clothes. So before they started fostering children, they had tried and it just never worked out. Um, but she gives her those clothes, for her child. And so she leaves from there, looks at the castle, and kind of wonders, like, But then she goes, I can't think about that. I've got to focus. She's going to take some summer classes. She's going to try and graduate before the baby comes. Poor Charlie, it's been a couple weeks. Every day he was driving past her house, and then he had to stop doing it because it was just breaking him. He's put aside money to pay for her tuition. He just feels helpless. He has dinner with the Brundels, and we find out that two things happen. Okay, at this dinner. First, Olivia tried to grab his dick while they were at the table, and he jumped away from her and was like, "What the fuck?" And the dad was like, "That's no way to speak to your betrothed." Then they get into this whole conversation about the dam, and basically the father's like, they're going to move everyone from uh, Grimdale, and he's like, there's not just skilled workers, because the only jobs that when they relocate them are going to be like factory type of jobs. He's like, that's not going to work. These people have professions. They're doctors or lawyers. The dad doesn't care, right? He's like, the deal is basically damn near done. So it's going to give him a bunch of money, and then he'll relinquish the kingdom to him. I'm like, this bitch. So he knows he's got to stand up. He's got to fight for his kingdom because clearly his dad's trying to like drive it into the ground, ruin it. We fast forward 6 months, and he's paid for her tuition. She got money from the Valencias and Dahlia to pay for her tuition, and when she went to go pay for it, they were like, it's already paid. She blocked him after the first month after the breakup because it just became too hard to see it. She thought about sending him a message saying thank you, but she's like, nope, not opening that door again. Goes home, tells Dahlia what happened. Dahlia won't take the money back. She's like, you're still going to need it. So just chill. Don't worry. So Charlie's name pops up on the screen because everything's been a buzz about the wedding. The wedding date is November 1st. And Dahlia says clearly he doesn't want to do it. I mean, hell, he paid for your tuition. You know? He loves you. I think it really is. He's just he's in a between a rock and a hard place with this. But she's like, nope, it's too heartbreaking to go there. I'm only focusing on my baby. So we make it to the wedding day. Charlie, miserable. He's in his carriage. They get up to the cathedral. His brothers are there. His butler Neville comes up and gives him his mother's that black box with his mother's ring in it. And he's like, I'm not giving that to her. Like, I'm not giving that to Olivia. And he says, you need to look at what's underneath it. I thought you would have looked by now, but you hadn't. So there's a letter from his mother. And basically it says, if you're reading this, then this means I've been taken out. She detailed the first attempt that was made on her life prior. And it was done, I want to say, while she was skiing or something like that. And then she states that his father and Talon are in cahoots. Talon's last name isn't Smith, it's actually Thorne, which is the same as the governess, Charlotte. They were siblings. So the dad set him up, put a grown woman to take down his son. The mom told him where the proof is. It's in the cabin that proves that the dad was involved in her death. So she tells him how sorry she is. She wish she could have been there for him to see the man he grew up to be, to see who he chose, to see his grandchildren. He's crying, but now he knows he doesn't have to do this shit. So he goes up to his dad's carriage. His dad's like, what are you doing? You go in there and you get married. And he tells him, I'm not getting married. And he tells him all the stuff he knows. His dad's shaking because he's pissed. The jig is up. He tells his dad, you abdicate the throne right now or I'm going to the press with this. He's like, you don't have enough proof. He was like, I have all the proof. He only got a little proof, but he's got enough. So he jumps on his horse, whose name, by the way, is called Karma. How amazing. He rides the horse to Elle's house. Elle comes to the door and she's looking like, what are you doing? So he gets off the horse and damn near falls, but he catches himself. And he gets on one knee and asks her, marry me. She, of course, thinks this is a dream, right? This is not real. And eventually she realizes it's real. She says yes. He breaks out the rings from that was his mom's. Everyone knew that that was his mom's ring, but everyone in the kingdom thought that it was lost when she died. But here it is, and she's the one getting it. Neville appears and takes them to their cabin. He tells her about what happened. She is floored. We fast forward, what, about a year? Her mom, hold on, let me go back. His mom had the proof about the first attempt that traced it back to the dad and Talon. Okay? The Talon guy is now in prison. Our girl Elle wanted the king and put in prison too, but Charlie didn't want to do that. It was too hard on his brothers. It was like they lost their mom all over again and then they're losing their dad. It was just too much. He didn't want to do that to him. Um, it's like, but the dad took away their mom. But anyway, I digress. So he, of course, he's banished from the kingdom. She's pregnant again. They're super happy. We fast. Oh, one more thing before we fast forward. The Raventhalls have now been invited to move back into the palace. Um, Her parents, Elle's parents, the Valencias, they don't want to live in the palace because Francis is like he's got to run the shelter, but the palace has funded his spade and neuter thing that he can go around and do his mobile business. They're doing that. We then fast forward 10 years. They've now had 3 kids total. Our boy still adores Elle. He tells her how much he loves her all the time, how beautiful, how wonderful she is. He runs the country. He's a very just king, just like his mother knew he would be. And they have a really beautiful life. And that's how it ends. Now the next book is about Dahlia and Damon, and that story or book is called Heartless Prince. So again, if you want to read their different stories, that one's about Damon, and then the last book in this, I can't remember what it's called, but the last book is about Gabriel, the younger brother. So this is the trilogy for the Farcliff Kingdom. So what did you all think? I really liked it. I like that it used, probably one of the original romance, I don't know, happily ever after, however we want to put it. One of the first stories we probably all know, and we get a twist with it, and we make it modern. I like that. I like that twist. I still feel like if she could have went to another pharmacy in another place and could have got something. Sorry, you know. So I kind of feel like deep down you had to kind of want this to be to make that decision. I'm just saying. But it was a good read. I thought it was cute. Um, Again, it's a first start to the trilogy within that book of the Farcliff Kingdom. So if you want to know the other stories, feel free. I'm going to dive into them on my own, but it gives you a nice little start. Let me know what you guys think. Drop down in the comments section and let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.